This time, you don't get to go back to the old version. This time, excuses don't work. This time, comfort is no longer an option. You promised yourself change before, and you walked away. But this time is different. Because the pain of staying the same is finally louder than the fear of becoming someone new. This time, you have to change. Change is uncomfortable. That's why most people avoid it. They wait for motivation. They wait for the right time. They wait for life to push them. But real change doesn't come from waiting. It comes from a decision. A decision that says, I'm done living like this. This time, change is not a wish. It's a requirement. Because staying the same is costing you more than changing ever will. At some point, repetition stops being comfort and starts being a warning. Same habits, same routines, same choices, different days, but the same outcomes. That's not bad luck. That's a cycle. Most people don't ruin their lives in one big moment. They slowly repeat the same behavior while hoping something external will change. They wake up the same way, think the same way, react the same way. And then they wonder why life feels stuck. Cycles are powerful because they feel familiar. Familiar feels safe. But safe is not progress. Repeating the same cycle is choosing predictability over potential. You already know how this version of your life ends. You've lived it before. Same promises made at night. Same excuses used in the morning. I'll start tomorrow. I'll change next week. I just need more time. Time doesn't change cycles. Decisions do. Cycles don't break accidentally. They break intentionally. You don't drift into a better life. You interrupt patterns. That interruption is uncomfortable because cycles protect identity. If you change the pattern, you threaten the version of you that's gotten used to surviving this way. But survival is not the same as growth. Growth demands disruption. Every cycle has a trigger, something that starts it. Thought, a habit, an environment. If you don't change the trigger, you repeat the cycle. People often try to change results without changing triggers. That never works. Same inputs always produce similar outputs. That's not motivation talk. That's reality. Repeating the same cycle is not a lack of knowledge. You already know what to do. It's a lack of courage. Courage to do it consistently. Because breaking cycles requires discipline, not inspiration. It requires saying no to the version of you that wants comfort over change. Cycle also distort time. Months disappear. Years pass quietly. Nothing dramatic happens, and that's the danger. No collapse. No explosion, just slow erosion of potential. That's how people wake up one day and wonder where their time went. Cycles steal silently. They don't announce themselves. They disguise themselves as routines. Breaking a cycle means becoming aware. Awareness is uncomfortable. It forces honesty. You have to admit, I'm choosing this. Not because you want to, but because you tolerate it. Tolerance is permission. What you tolerate becomes your lifestyle. Cycles persist because they are tolerated. You tolerate waking up late. You tolerate distractions. You tolerate excuses. And over time, tolerance turns into identity. I'm just like this. No, you've just practiced this. Practice creates patterns. Patterns create cycles. Cycles can be retrained, but only when you stop lying to yourself. Cycles don't break with big speeches. They break with small, consistent changes. One different morning, one different response, one different decision. Small changes feel insignificant, but cycles are built from small actions too. You didn't create this cycle overnight. You repeated it into existence. That means you can repeat your way out. But repetition without intention keeps you trapped. Repetition with awareness creates momentum. Most people want change without disrupting comfort. That's impossible. Change demands sacrifice. You must give something up to get something new. Cycles demand payment. They cost energy. They cost time. They cost self-respect. Every time you repeat the same cycle, you reinforce a message to yourself. This is all I expect from my life. That message shapes identity. Identity shapes behavior. Behavior reinforces the cycle. Breaking the cycle means sending a new message. A message that says this ends here, not tomorrow, not next year. That decision won't feel powerful at first. It will feel heavy. Because cycles are familiar, and unfamiliar feels risky. But staying in the cycle is the real risk. Cycles don't stay neutral. They either keep you stagnant or pull you backward. You don't stay in place. You slowly decline. Breaking the cycle requires one thing above all: ownership. You stop blaming timing, people, or circumstances. You admit, I've been choosing this pattern. And that admission, as uncomfortable as it is the moment power returns. Because once you admit you chose it, you realize you can choose differently. And the moment you choose differently, the cycle starts to weaken. Comfort is dangerous because it doesn't feel like a threat. It feels calm. It feels safe. It feels familiar. And that's exactly why it destroys potential quietly. Comfort never announces itself as the enemy. It whispers, it's okay to rest today. You deserve a break. You can start tomorrow. And one tomorrow becomes many. Comfort doesn't ruin lives overnight. It slowly convinces you that average is acceptable and delay is harmless. Potential does not grow in comfort. Potential grows under resistance. Every strong version of you is built during discomfort. Comfort removes urgency. Without urgency, action slows. When action slows, momentum dies. And when momentum dies, dreams become fantasies instead of plans. Comfort trains the mind to avoid effort. Effort becomes optional. Optional effort never creates transformation. Transformation requires pressure. Pressure forces adaptation. Comfort removes pressure. That's why people stay stuck for years without feeling bad. Nothing hurts enough to change. And that's the trap. Discomfort pushes you forward. Comfort holds you still. Staying still feels harmless until time passes. Then regret shows up. Comfort also lowers standards. You stop demanding more from yourself. You accept late mornings. You accept inconsistency. You accept excuses. What you accept becomes your baseline. And your baseline determines your future. High standards feel uncomfortable. They require discipline. Comfort convinces you to lower them so life feels easier. But easier now means harder later. Comfort also numbs awareness. You stop noticing how far you've drifted from who you said you wanted to be. You become busy without being productive, occupied but not progressing. Comfort replaces purpose with distraction. Phones, entertainment, noise. Distraction feels good short term, but it steals focus. Focus is the currency of success. Without focus, potential stays unused. Comfort also lies about time. It says, you have plenty of time. Time is never plentiful. It's slipping. Every comfortable delay is paid for later with pressure or regret. Comfort pushes discipline into the future. Discipline postponed becomes discipline avoided. An avoided discipline creates weak foundations. Weak foundations collapse under stress. That's why comfort fails you when life gets hard. Comfort also keeps you small. It encourages routines that don't challenge you. No growth, no stretch, no resistance. Muscles grow under tension. So does character. Comfort avoids tension. Avoiding tension avoids growth. Potential unused eventually fades. People don't lose potential because they lack talent. They lose it because they stop challenging themselves. Comfort also protects the ego. It prevents failure by preventing effort. But avoiding failure also avoids success. You can't reach new levels without risking discomfort. Comfort keeps you in familiar rooms with familiar limits. Change requires stepping outside. Outside is uncomfortable. That's where growth lies. Comfort also creates dependency. You rely on feeling good to take action. But discipline requires action even when you don't feel good. People who wait to feel ready stay comfortable. People who act anyway grow. Comfort trains you to listen to emotions. Growth requires leading emotions. Comfort also weakens resilience. When things are always easy, hardship feels overwhelming. People raised in comfort often collapse under pressure. Discomfort trains endurance. Endurance builds confidence. Confidence prepares you for bigger challenges. Comfort steals that preparation. Comfort also disguises itself as self-care. Real self-care builds the future. Comfort avoids effort. There is a difference between rest that restores and comfort that delays. Rest is intentional. Comfort is habitual. Rest prepares you to work harder. Comfort convinces you not to work at all. Comfort also disconnects you from hunger. Hunger drives improvement. When you're too comfortable, hunger disappears. You stop wanting more. And when desire fades, progress stops. Comfort feels like peace, but it's often just stagnation. Growth feels chaotic, but it leads to fulfillment. Discomfort demands courage. Courage is a muscle. Comfort lets it weaken. Every time you choose comfort over discipline, that muscle shrinks. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, it grows. Potential responds to pressure. Remove pressure, and potential sleeps. You don't need to hate comfort. You need to stop living inside it. Comfort should be visited, not inhabited. Because the life you want doesn't live where it's easy. It lives where it's challenging. And the moment you realize comfort is costing you your future, you stop negotiating with it. Most people believe change starts with motivation. That's the lie. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. It fades with stress. It disappears when things get uncomfortable. If change depended on emotion, no one would ever become disciplined. Emotion reacts. Action decides. Waiting to feel motivated is the fastest way to stay exactly where you are. Action creates momentum. Momentum creates motivation, not the other way around. People who change their lives don't feel ready every day. They move anyway. They act while tired. They act while uncertain. They act while afraid. Because action is a choice, not a feeling. Emotion asks, do I feel like it? Action asks, what must be done? Change begins the moment action becomes non-negotiable. You don't wait for confidence. You build it by acting. Confidence is a byproduct of movement. Standing still creates doubt. Movement creates clarity. Action silences overthinking. Overthinking feeds fear. Fear lives where action is missing. Emotion loves comfort. Action demands discipline. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, regardless of how you feel. Emotion will always argue. It will tell you to delay. It will remind you of past failures. It will exaggerate effort. Action doesn't debate. It executes. People stuck in the same place aren't lacking desire. They're lacking consistent action. Desire without action is frustration. Action without desire still produces results. That's why discipline beats motivation every time. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is structural. Structure creates freedom. Emotion creates excuses. Action builds identity. You don't become disciplined by thinking about discipline. You become disciplined by acting disciplined. Every action casts a vote for the person you are becoming. Small actions repeated daily reshape identity. Identity shapes behavior. That's how real change happens. Emotion focuses on comfort. Action focuses on progress. Progress feels uncomfortable before it feels rewarding. Emotion wants immediate relief. Action is willing to endure short-term pain for long-term growth. Change requires delayed gratification. Emotion hates delay. Action accepts it. That's why emotional decisions lead to inconsistency. Action-based decisions lead to transformation. People often say, I'll start when I feel ready. Ready is a feeling. Growth doesn't wait for feelings. Readiness is built through action. You act first, then readiness follows. Emotion asks for certainty. Action creates certainty. You don't need the whole plan. You need the next step. Action reveals the path one step at a time. Emotion wants guarantees. Action accepts risk. Every meaningful change requires stepping into uncertainty. Emotion fears failure. Action understands that failure is feedback. Feedback leads to adjustment. Adjustment leads to mastery. Avoiding action avoids learning. Avoiding learning avoids growth. Emotion protects the ego. Action builds character. Character is forged through repetition, not inspiration. That's why routines matter. Routines remove emotion from decision-making. You don't debate. You execute. When action becomes routine, progress becomes inevitable. Emotion fluctuates. Routine remains. Change sticks when action is consistent. Consistency beats intensity. One powerful emotional moment won't change your life. Thousands of ordinary actions will. Action compounds. Small actions seem insignificant daily, but massive over time. Emotion only sees today. Action invests in tomorrow. That's why action-oriented people outgrow emotional thinkers. Emotion is reactive. Action is intentional. Intention directs effort. Effort creates results. Results reinforce belief. Belief strengthens discipline. It's a cycle that starts with action. Action also creates accountability. Once you act, you own the outcome. Emotion avoids responsibility. Action embraces it. Ownership accelerates change. Blame delays it. Every time you choose action over emotion, you reclaim control. Control builds self-respect. Self-respect fuels confidence. Confidence fuels bigger actions. And bigger actions demand stronger discipline. Change is not dramatic. It's mechanical. Do the work. Repeat the work. Refine the work. Emotion wants excitement. Action builds systems. Systems remove dependency on mood. Mood is unstable. Systems are reliable. That's why lasting change is boring at first. It's repetitive, but repetition creates mastery. Mastery creates freedom. Emotion chases excitement. Action builds power. Power comes from consistency. Consistency comes from commitment. Commitment means acting even when emotion resists, because emotion doesn't lead your life. Decisions do. And the moment action becomes your default response, emotion loses its control. At some point, you have to accept a hard truth. No one is coming, no rescue, no miracle, no perfect moment. Waiting for someone to change your life is how years disappear. People waste their potential hoping for help that never arrives. Not because help is impossible, but because responsibility can't be outsourced. Your life responds to ownership, not hope. Hope without action is passive. Ownership is active. And active people don't wait to be saved. From an early age, many are conditioned to expect guidance. Teachers, parents, leaders. But adulthood removes the safety net. No one monitors your discipline. No one enforces your standards. That responsibility transfers to you. And most people never fully accept it. They blame circumstances. They blame the past. They blame lack of opportunity. Blame feels relieving. But it removes power. When you blame, you hand control to something outside yourself. When you take ownership, you take control back. Control is uncomfortable. It means you can't hide anymore. If no one is coming, then the outcome depends on you. That realization is heavy, but it's also freeing. Because if no one is coming to save you, no one is stopping you either. People wait for motivation because it feels like permission. They wait for validation because it feels like approval. They wait for support because it feels safer. But growth doesn't ask for permission. It demands responsibility. No one will force you to wake up early. No one will make you work when tired. No one will protect your future for you. You either do it or it doesn't happen. That's the reality. Waiting for help delays progress. Self-reliance accelerates it. When you realize no one is coming, you stop negotiating with yourself. You stop making excuses because there's no one left to convince. You stop complaining because it doesn't change outcomes. Complaints don't build futures. Actions do. People often say, I just need someone to push me. That push is supposed to come from within. External pressure fades. Internal standards remain. The strongest people don't rely on accountability from others. They hold themselves accountable. Self-accountability is rare. That's why it's powerful. When no one is watching, your choices reveal who you are. When no one is applauding, your discipline shows your commitment. When no one is encouraging you, your persistence defines your character. Life doesn't reward potential. It rewards responsibility. Taking responsibility means accepting that your current situation is the result of past choices. That truth hurts, but denial hurts longer. Once you accept ownership, change becomes possible. Without ownership, change is impossible. People wait for perfect conditions. Perfect conditions never arrive. Conditions improve when effort increases. No one will remove obstacles for you. You build the strength to overcome them. Strength comes from repetition. Repetition comes from discipline. Discipline comes from responsibility. Responsibility starts with accepting that no one is coming. People often look for mentors, leaders, or saviors. Guidance helps, but it doesn't replace effort. Advice doesn't change lives, execution does. You can consume motivation endlessly and remain unchanged. Because inspiration without responsibility is entertainment. Transformation begins when you stop expecting rescue. When you stop waiting, you start acting. When you stop blaming, you start building. When you stop hoping, you start owning. Ownership changes perspective. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You ask, what am I going to do about it? That question shifts power. Power changes behavior. Behavior changes outcomes. And once you accept full responsibility, you no longer fear pressure. Pressure becomes proof that you're in control. Control demands effort. Effort demands consistency. Consistency demands discipline. Discipline demands sacrifice. Sacrifice demands clarity. Clarity comes when you realize that the future you want depends entirely on you. No one is going to wake you up. No one is going to remind you of your goals. No one is going to save you from the consequences of delay. You are the system. You are the structure. You are the decision maker. And the moment you fully accept that reality, waiting disappears. Change doesn't happen in one dramatic moment. It happens quietly, daily, unnoticed. Becoming better is not about a single decision. It's about thousands of small decisions stacked on top of each other over time. People love the idea of overnight success. But overnight success is built on years of consistent effort. What you see is the result, not the routine. Growth is boring before it's beautiful. It's waking up early when no one is watching. It's choosing discipline when comfort is calling. It's showing up when motivation is nowhere to be found. Daily commitment doesn't care about mood. Some days you feel strong. Some days you feel tired. Some days you feel doubtful. The commitment remains the same because commitment is not emotional, it's contractual. You make a promise to yourself and you honor it regardless of how you feel. That's how trust with yourself is built. And self-trust changes everything. When you keep small promises, confidence grows. When confidence grows, standards rise. When standards rise, behavior improves. And behavior shapes destiny. Becoming better is not about perfection. It's about consistency. Missing one day doesn't ruin progress. Quitting does. Most people fail, not because they're incapable, but because they're inconsistent. They start strong. They stop early. They want results without repetition. But repetition is the foundation of mastery. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your habits. Habits built daily determine who you become. That's why daily commitment matters more than motivation. Motivation is temporary. Commitment is permanent. Motivation asks, do I feel like it today? Commitment says, this is who I am now. Identity is formed through repeated action. Every disciplined day reinforces that identity. You don't wait to feel like a disciplined person. You act like one, and the identity follows. Becoming better also requires patience. Results lag behind effort. You work without immediate reward. You improve without recognition. You grow without applause. That's the test. Can you stay committed when no one is praising you? Because the most important work happens in silence. Daily commitment also means choosing long-term respect over short-term pleasure. Comfort feels good now. Discipline feels good later. People who choose discipline win twice, first in character, then in results. Becoming better demands sacrifice. Not everything needs your attention. Not everyone deserves your time. You must protect your energy. Energy spent wisely compounds. Energy wasted creates regret. Daily commitment is also about forgiveness. You will fail sometimes, you will fall short. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is simple. One group quits. The other recommits. They don't let one bad day turn into a bad life. They return to discipline without drama. No excuses. No self-pity. Just recommitment. That's maturity. Becoming better is not glamorous. It's repetition. It's structure. It's showing up again and again. But over time, those boring days build extraordinary lives. Every day you commit, you separate yourself from who you used to be. Every disciplined choice moves you closer to the version of yourself you respect. And respect is powerful. Self-respect changes how you walk, how you speak, how you decide. People feel it. Opportunities respond to it. Confidence grows from it. And one day you look back and realize you're no longer the person who needed motivation. You became the person who moves without it. That's the power of daily commitment. Not hype, not emotion, not luck. Just disciplined action, repeated, day after day. And that's when everything changes, because this time you didn't quit. This time you didn't wait. This time you didn't negotiate with comfort. This time you kept the promise. And that's why this time you change. This time you don't negotiate with your future. This time you keep the promise you made to yourself. Because the person you are becoming is winning on one decision. Make it now. This time you have to change.